people holding a bunch of like stacks of 30 books like casually. Like maybe they go to the gym and they actually exercise and lift, because I need to be doing that as well, because this is kind of pathetic. I've been trying to like lift it up for like a while now. Oh, that's kind of cute from a distance. If you're capable of doing this without your arms shaking, can you teach me like what kind of exercise I need to do in order to achieve this, because I'm shaking. Hello everybody, my name is Beck. Welcome to my channel. Welcome back to my channel. So today I'll be going through my September TBR, or TBR potentials, or TBR hopefuls. I don't usually finish my TBR, but one can hope and dream. The very first series that I really want to finish, and because I have a library loan for the first book but not the other two, my library only carries like the first audiobook for The Inheritance Game by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and it's due in a couple of days, so I will be reading it regardless. I have the first book, which is The Inheritance Game, like I said, the Hawthorne Legacy. The latest edition that came out like a couple of days ago, by the time you're watching this is probably like 2 weeks later, which is The Final Gambit. Stunning. I bought these two sometime last year, so it's been sitting on my shelf. I didn't want to start this series until like the final book came out. So as you can tell, it's turning slightly more yellow, and this one, look how pristine and beautiful it is. For those of you who are wondering, this is the UK version. UK paperbacks look like this. I like the American copy a little bit more. From what I've gathered from reading other people's review, you are basically thrown into an inheritance game. This old man passes away, you're written in the will, you have to compete with the grandsons, the legitimate grandsons of the state, to see if you can take part in the fortunes. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. And there's apparently some love triangle romance involved. This is considered YA. I am excited. I heard really high praises about the first book. The second book apparently pissed a lot of people off. I'm going off with what I've been seeing on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. So there's that. It's like a really drastically different from like the materials in the first and second and third book. The first one I bought in person. The second one I bought on Amazon, and the third one I bought from Big W. So yeah, there is like some difference, and the spine looks really nice, but let's move on. And the next book that I really want to read in September is When a Scot Ties the Knot by Tessa Dare in the Castle Ever After series, and I have like a pineapple sticky note. The premises of this story sounds pretty interesting. She has to get married for whatever reason. If I ever get a chance to finish this, it will be my first proper historical romance that I completed, and I heard really good things about this one, and for a historical romance beginner, I hope to continue with this genre. I just wanted to give this a fair go. I have the audiobook for this because I have an Anyplay subscription, and this was like one of the featured audiobooks, so I'm really excited for it. I'm just not used to books that looks like this, and I don't know if this is considered like a mass paperback, but I think historical romance is just like that in Australia, or at least the UK edition. Okay, the next book I have here is A Thousand Boy Kisses by Tilly Cole. This is my latest purchase. I went out last Friday, which would be like 4 days ago, and I picked this book up. It has like a sudden resurgence. It's traditionally published again. I don't know the logistics of this book. Back in 2016 when I first saw it, I think that's when it first came out, seeing this book at a lot of bookstores at my local library. I've seen it like just casually sitting there. I know back then it was like really popular. I don't know what drew me to this book, and I just like really wanted to see what the hype was about. I decided to pick it up because there was only like 2 copies left at my local Big W, and I was like, it's not exactly my local Big W. I actually went out of my way to go to that particular Big W so I could meet up with my friend. And since this was like the second last copy, and this was the only thing that I was particularly interested in, I decided to pick it up. I just really wanted to spend money that day, and this was like $12. Pretty sure back in the days when I first saw it, it was like 18 bucks. So I decided it was just a sign. I heard this book is incredibly sad. I've seen so many people cry over this, and maybe that I'm a bit older now, I might be stronger. No, I'm actually a softie, so this one might break me. I just wanted to see like why it's so popular, and I'm interested, and you know, it happened by chance. let's freaking move on. Okay, this is A Roommate by Rosie Dannon. The amount of times I've tempted to read this, I made my friends pick out a book from my TBR shelf, and one of my friends, Shushi Fairy, picked this book out, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna read it. Because my other friend, Micah Baiko, picked The Road Trip by Beth O'Leary. I read that, and that book made me have a reading slump, and by the time I got to this one, I just didn't want to read anymore, but I actually made some progress in it. I'm a fast reader, so the fact that it's taking me this long to read this book is not a good sign, but I will be finishing it. I'm up to chapter 5. I have the audiobook for it, so it should be a lot easier to get through, but I still need to finish the book. I was stuck at chapter 1 for like 3 months. I would suggest people going into this book blind and maybe check the trigger warnings before you start this book. The reason why I also have trouble finishing this book is because if you're on like any social media platform, this book has been like, at least for me on my FYP, people have basically told the entire plot about this book, so it's kind of redundant for me to read it, but I guess I need to see the context of the situation so I can see the story for myself. I was going to do an Emily Henry reading vlog. I filmed portions of that video. I'm most likely not going to post it because it's bad and I don't even know who's going to watch this. So we had Beach Read, which I've read before, but I plan on doing like a reading vlog for these 3, so I was going to reread this. I also bought the audio book for Beach Read by Emily Henry, and I was going to do like, you know, a fun cute rereading because I had a audiobook loan from the library. I just ended up reading this book. I filmed like portions of it. Here are my tabs. I even wrote like a little cute reviews on the back. Like You and Me on Vacation is basically People We Meet on Vacation, which is the American version. This is like the UK copy. It's the same with like some subtle changes here and there, different cover. I prefer the UK cover. I think the color scheme is a lot more pretty. I finished up on my tabs. I don't really know how to edit a reading vlog, but this one, I finally read it. And to summarize how I feel towards this book, I would say, surprisingly, I thought I would like this book because it's friends to lovers. I don't really like friends to lovers, but it's well written, but I just didn't like the characters. I will talk a little bit more in depth in the reading vlog if I ever post it. If not, then I will wrap it up in my wrap up video and I'll talk more in depth about this book. If it was me in that kind of situation, I could see myself making these mistakes. All they had to do was maybe have an open, heart-to-heart conversation to avoid all of this. But I understand like life is never that simple, and you know, you have to go through a lot of stuff to get to the end goal. Wasn't my fave, but if I have to compare these 2, I prefer Beach Read over this, which is shocking because I didn't think I would be like this. I thought this was the MVP, but it turns out this one I prefer. But that's also like a personal thing for me. And I also have the audiobook for book lovers. This one, I don't like this particular cover. I prefer the US version for this. Yeah, I was gonna do a reading vlog, but I kind of sidetracked. 2 hopefuls that I have here is, once again, I have read this one, so the September TBR is going well because I'm actually reading from the list of books that I have prepared. Again, I was planning to do like a really cute reading vlog for Abby Jimenez, this particular series, like book 1 to 3. There's only 3 books in the series, didn't happen because I get easily sidetracked, and it's really hard to film because at times the house can be really noisy. Like my neighbors are doing construction work at the moment, so I hope no one gets like disrupted from it. But this is like the 2nd book of the series and this is like the 3rd. And the reason why I bought these 2 only, I didn't buy the first one, was because I read like some questionable things for the first book, and I bought these like sometime last year when it wasn't available at my local library, but the audio book recently became available for the 1st, 2nd and 3rd book, and I'm super happy about it, but kind of peeved at the same time because had I known it was going to come to my local library, maybe I wouldn't have picked it up. I read the 2nd book, which is the Happy Ever playlist by Abby Jimenez. Surprisingly, I enjoyed this one because the 1st book I DNF. It was not good, at least to me. Please don't take any offense. These are all my personal opinions, but I just found 1st book to be kind of problematic, and I did read like the trigger warnings for that one. Mind you, please read the trigger warnings for all of Abby Jimenez's books because they can be heavy. It talks about death of a family member, death of a spouse, and it is a reoccurring theme, so please look at the trigger warnings, especially for the 1st book. That one was a little bit too rough because it it does involve like chronic illness is like a very sore topic for me personally. The way the heroine and hero was portrayed in that book, I also had some problems with. That's why I couldn't stomach through the entire story. That again, that's my personal belief, so I didn't do a dedicated reading vlog for that. The first book was about a firefighter romance and chronic illness, and the second one, which is this one, talks about a spouse who passed away and a rock star romance involving a dog. It is so dramatic, I freaking love it. And this one is about a YouTuber and a lawyer who lives next door to each other. I think that's what I remember on top of my head, but this one I haven't read yet. But the second book is a lot better than the first book in my personal opinion once again. Okay, the next book I really want to read is Set On You by Amy Lee. I heard this book is super fluffy, super cheesy, and rom-com-y. Fingers crossed. I just need some happiness in my life, and I heard it's like body positivity, Asian rep, talks about sports, which I don't particularly love. I think it's just like training, curvy fitness influencer. Maybe this will motivate me to be more active, I don't know. It sounds really cute and interesting. I've been trying to read this book for the past 2 months when I bought it. When did I buy this? I bought it a while ago. I've heard like a lot of positive things about this book, and they're usually by like my fellow Asian peeps that talk really highly of this book, so I have high hopes for it. It's always nice to have some representation and body positivity because it can be really harsh out there, and I just need a good laugh because sometimes like these are set to be like rom-com-y, but it can be really dark and heavy at times, so I need something to lighten the mood up, and this felt like a really healthy medium after like putting 1,000 boy kisses into the pile. And the next and final physical TBR for the list is this one. Here's the thing. I should have done a lot more research before I picked this one up. I bought this a couple of months ago. This is The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. Please do your own research and don't base it on what I'm saying right here. I'm gonna say it's all like allegedly speculations. Please look at all the trigger warnings and the history behind a book before you buy it or the author. I don't know enough to really say for sure, but there is some controversies behind this book because apparently this is based on, I'm going by a Reddit post, okay? Like I said, please do your own research, but I've seen like a couple of people talk about it. According to the Reddit post, The House in the Cerulean Sea is about the 60s scoop indigenous genocide in Canada. Like, I've seen some conflicting comments here and there saying that it is not a main feature, but it is influenced by that. I don't know how I feel towards this one. I will read it because I have a library loan due in a couple of days. Had I known, I think I should have just borrowed this book from the local library, and then I wouldn't feel too guilty about it because I bought it at a store and I paid like $16 for it. But I think I'm just gonna unhaul this book once I'm done with it. I'll read it, see what is up. What would you do in my situation if you don't want a book and that's like slightly controversial? Do you unhaul it? Do you donate it? And then I feel like that's a continuous cycle. It's just the stuff I've read online, and several creators on TikTok have talked about it. So again, please do your own research. It is all alleged. I'm just gonna put it out there. I can't say for a fact. I don't know for sure because I am basing this on like TikTok, social media, Reddit, all of that. Please do your own research, come to your own conclusions. By the way, if you're from Australia, especially if you're from Sydney, can you please let me know like where I can donate books? I know there's like OpShop. Are there other alternatives I can donate to? Because I'm fairly new to the whole thing. Anyway, that was really heavy. Let's move on to something lighter. So I have some arcs that I would like to complete in the month of September. First of all, I have Pack of Lies by Charlie Adahara. I requested this arc sometime in August, and this book is already out, so if you want to read it, feel free. And the audiobook is also available. That's like why I waited a little bit, because I have like an Anyplay subscription and I just wanted the audiobook. Is it bad? It's bad. I also wasn't in the mood to read this. I think I read the prologue 6 times and I still haven't started on chapter 1, but I will read this. This is the last arc I need to complete this month. See, originally I was gonna read like 2 arcs this month, but I finished 10 Years by Pernell Hodges. That was the only other arc that was due this month that I completed yesterday. Bumped it up from like a 2.5 to like 3 because of the ending, but I didn't like the story, if I'm being honest. The chemistry between the characters wasn't it for me. I can see why people like it because it is emotional, but I just could not connect with it. The premises of the story is dating your dead friend's boyfriend. I don't know how I feel about that, but personally for me, it's hard to say, but personally if I could avoid it, I would avoid it. And I feel like they were just like fighting one minute and the next minute they were together. So I finished that arc, thank goodness. So my NetGalley is back to like 93%. And once I'm done with Pack of Lies, it'll go back to like 100%. I only request 2 books at a time until I finish it, no matter how much I want a book. I am like a numbers orientated kind of person. It drives me insane if it's like not a certain way. So that's what I've been doing because I don't want to tank my NetGalley score. And I don't want to request a bunch of books knowing that I won't be able to read it. So there's that. For those of you who don't know what NetGalley is or what an ARC is, it's basically a advanced reader's copy that you can request from like publishers, authors, and anyone in the industry willing to give you like an early access to a copy in exchange for like a review. You don't have to provide a review. The common courtesy is to provide one. You can also get paid sometimes. I don't. These are for free reviews in exchange. NetGalley is like one of the websites that is easier to access, but I also signed up for like Book Siren and Booksprout, but I only used it once and they're fairly good as well. So if you're ever looking for like newer content that you want to read and give feedback to authors and publishers, that's like a really good way too. But I think most people know about it, but if you didn't, so those are the 2 arcs that I want to complete in the month of September. I hope I came across sincere. I am a little jittery because from the lack of sleep and a lot of caffeine and not enough water, but like I said earlier, I heard this book was really good and that's why I bought it. And after learning about it, it's kind of hard to swallow. I have the audiobook, but it's been on my pile for the past 3 months, ever since it came out. So read, really happy. So at least I read 3 books this month already. So go me. I hope you guys enjoyed my video. Please leave me a comment down below if you have anything you'd like to say to me. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and hit the subscribe button if you want to see more content from me, and hit the bell for notifications. And I'll see you guys in my next video. But please let me know any upcoming releases, any romance book you'd like to recommend to me. If you couldn't tell by now, I do like a good romance novel, and I am particularly interested in monster romance at the moment. I've been reading so much that I didn't include it in the pile, and I'm sure I would read more than what you see here. Here's the thing, I'm a mood reader, so you might see me reading every single thing that I mentioned here today, or maybe by the time I do a wrap-up video it'll be like a completely different list. It can happen. I'm out of control. But anyway, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.